Okay, my dear learners, you are most welcome. Our topic today is going to be about fractions. So this is a very interesting part of mathematics whereby we are going to start by understanding what a fraction is. A fraction, in a simple term, a fraction is just a part of a whole. It is a part of a whole. Let me first divide our board here. Then what's a whole? A whole is one thing which is not divided into pieces. For instance, we are having our circle, so this is our whole and is 1. Then if we divide this one into two parts, we have this part here which is shaded and this one which is not shaded. Therefore this shaded part becomes a fraction. It's part of a whole thing. Therefore this shaded part, I can represent it like this. Then this one becomes 1. It's just one part out of a whole which was divided by into 2. Then a fraction has two parts, as you can see. One, it has the upper number, which we call the numerator. Then it has the lower number, which is the denominator. Then a numerator, this one shows how many parts have been taken from a whole after dividing it. For example, if you go back here, we had a whole, then we divided it into two parts, then we picked off one part, then it was 1. Now this is our numerator. Then one part was taken from the whole which was divided into two parts. Then the denominator, the denominator shows how many times has the whole been divided. Now if we come back here, our whole was divided into 2. Then our numerator is 1, so we have taken one part out of the two parts. Then the denominator, it is there too, so we divided the whole into two parts. So we can be given another fraction like 2 out of 3. Then this one is our numerator and this 3 is our denominator, meaning that there are two parts that have been taken from the whole which has been divided into 3 parts. Then let us continue. So after you have understood the numerator as the upper number and the denominator as the lower number, and the denominator representing the number of times the whole has been divided, then we are going to move on and we classify these fractions into types. So we are going to look at types of fractions. Then here we have two basic types of fractions, though they are going to produce others. One, we are having what we call a proper fraction. So a proper fraction, it is a fraction. Remember we said a fraction is a part of a whole, so it is a fraction where the numerator, remember we said a numerator is that upper number which represents the parts that have been taken off after dividing the whole. So where the numerator is smaller than the denominator. Remember we said that denominator, it's that lower number which represents the number of times the whole has been divided. For example, if you have a 3 out of 7, this one, it is a proper fraction. Why? Remember we said a proper fraction has to do with the numerator, the upper number, when it is smaller than the denominator. So 3 is smaller than 7, therefore this one becomes a proper fraction. Then if you have 1 out of 7, it is also a proper fraction. If you are given 90 out of 1000, so this one is also a proper fraction where a 90 is smaller than 1000. Then these proper fractions, once we work them out, if we divide them well as we follow the division rules, then they are going to produce another type of fractions, and that one, or this one, is called a decimal fraction. So we shall discuss decimal fractions further. Then another basic type of fraction, it is what we call the improper fraction. So this improper fraction, it is the opposite of the proper fraction. We are now going to look at the improper fraction of fractions, and we will say this one is the opposite of proper fraction, whereby proper fraction, it has a numerator which is smaller than the denominator. Therefore an improper fraction has it has a numerator. Remember, numerator is that upper number, a numerator being greater than its denominator. That one, the lower number, its denominator. For example, if we have 3 out of 9, then this one is not an improper fraction, whereby reason the numerator is smaller than the denominator. But if I change it, I get 9 out of 3, then this one is a real example of an improper fraction, whereby our numerator, this one, the upper number 9, is now greater than the denominator, so which is a 3. Then if we get another example like 10 out of 2, this one is an improper fraction. Then 11 out of 7, this one is also an improper fraction. Then this improper fraction, or these improper fractions, they produce another type of fractions which we call the mixed fractions. So the mixed fractions. So far we have looked at 4 types of fractions. One, we looked at the proper, saying numerator being smaller than the denominator. Then improper fraction being the opposite of proper, whereby the numerator is greater than the denominator. Then the improper fractions producing mixed fractions. Then we said proper fractions, for them they give us decimal fractions, as we shall discuss further. Then let us look at mixed fractions, or a mixed fraction. So a mixed fraction comes from an improper fraction, but this mixed fraction, it has a whole number. So it is a combination of a whole number and a proper fraction. So it is a combination of whole number and a proper fraction. For example, if you have 1 out of 4, so this one is a mixed fraction, whereby this one becomes a whole number. Then this is the 1 out of 4, a quarter, which is a proper fraction, whereby numerator is smaller than the denominator. Then let us see how these improper fractions can give us mixed fractions. Let us see, or let us change, let us see how these improper fractions, so we change improper fractions into mixed fractions. Let us see how we can change them. Let us start with this example here, which is 11 out of 7. So following the rules of division, if you go back at numerals division, this means that how many 7s can we get from 11? I repeat, how many 7s can we get from 11? So we are drawing the division sign. How many 7s? How many 7s are in? So inside here are in 11. So how many groups of 7 can we get from 11? Automatically we get one group of 7. So we come down here and say so one group of 7 gives us a 7. So we subtract. On subtracting, we are going to remain with how many? Guess what? That is 11. That is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we remain with a 4. We come back here and ask, how many 7s can we get from a 4? Do we get any group of 7 from a 4? Well, no, we don't have. Therefore we remain, we'll say we remain with 4. Then from here we are going to express our answer in terms of a mixed fraction. in terms of a mixed fraction. So it's going to be 1 as our whole number, then this remainder is going to make the proper fraction. So 1 remainder, this is 4 over what was our denominator. The denominator was a 7, so it gives us one whole number, 4 out of 7. This is a whole number, numerator and a denominator. Therefore, an improper fraction, 11 out of 7, it has given us a mixed fraction. Divide our board just like this. Then still we are continuing with more examples, changing the improper fractions into mixed fractions. Let us get another one, like 5 out of 4. So this one is an improper, whereby the numerator is bigger than the denominator. Then let us see the mixed fractions going to give us. Remember, we said as we are dividing, this one is saying how many groups of 4 can we get from a 5. So we draw our division symbol just like this one. How many groups of 4 can we get from a 5? How many groups of 4 can we get from a 5? So we can have our simple side work here, as in we have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So how many groups of 4 can we get from a 5? So 1, 2, 3 and 4. So we have only one group of what? 4. So we come down here and we answer that question. We say one group of 4 gives us a 4. What is now the balance? So the balance becomes a 1. So it is this one which remained here. Therefore it's 1 remainder 1. Then our mixed fraction is going to be 1 as the whole number. Then this remainder here is going to give us the improper fraction as the numerator, a 1 out of what was the denominator, a 4. So our mixed fraction, it is 1 whole number, 1 out of 4. So this is a whole number and a proper fraction. Then example 3. Assuming we have a 6 out of a 6 out of a 4. So this means how many groups of 4? How many? Let us rub this. Let us first get a rubber. We rub this here. Then we join here. Then how many groups of 4 are in 6? Automatically there is one group of 4. So one group of 4 gives us a 4. What is the balance? A 2. So remainder a what? A 2. Then our mixed fraction becomes one whole number, 2 out of 6. Then after understanding this one, you can also follow up down here and try out some more numbers. Then let us also see these improper fractions, mixed fractions we have formed, producing, or we are taking them back to improper fractions. Now let us change now, changing mixed fractions, to improper fractions. Remember we said a mixed fraction, it has a whole number. For example number 1, 2 whole number, 1 out of 3. So this one is our mixed fraction. We are going to change it into improper fraction, but here we are going to use a simple formula. So here we have times, then plus. But what is this one? This one becomes the whole number, the 3 becomes the denominator, and the 1 becomes the numerator. So our simple formula is times plus, whereby what are we multiplying? It is a denominator times a whole number plus a numerator over a denominator. So it is a denominator times a whole number plus a numerator out of the denominator. Then that's the simple formula. It is denominator times a whole number then plus a numerator out of the denominator. So what is our denominator? So the lower number, it is a 3 times what is our whole number? Our whole number is a 2, then plus what is our numerator? The numerator becomes a 1. So we put these 2 in brackets, then over the denominator, which is a 3. Then 3 times 2, for 3 groups of 2 we get a 6 plus 1 out of a 3. What do we get? 6 plus 1, it is 7 out of the denominator as a 3. So 7 out of 3 is the improper fraction which we have obtained from our mixed fraction 2 and a third. Then example number 2, 4 whole number 1 out of 5. So what do we get? So we say this is times, and here it is plus. This is a whole number, denominator and numerator. So it is denominator times a whole number plus a numerator out of a denominator. Then what is our denominator? It is a 5. What is the whole number? It is a 4. What are we doing? We are multiplying, so we put them in brackets. Then plus, what's the numerator? It's a 1 all over a 5, which is our denominator. Then now we are going to operate the numbers. Then 5 groups of 4. What do we get? 5 groups of 4. That is 5, 10, 15 and 20. So it is giving us 20 plus a 1 out of a 5. So finally, what's the answer? 20 plus 1, we get 21 out of a 5. Therefore, I want to congratulate you. You have been a good learner. Let's meet in the next lesson.